Hello, everyone.
Hello.
How you doing, Michael? Good to have you guys here. Good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well today. Good to have you back. Hold on a sec, please. Okay. Yep. All right. So it's good to have everyone back. We're about nice students on call. We'll do some of the other people will join us as we continue here today. Okay, so let's have a little recap of what we did last week before we move to today's topic. So please, you can check your notes and check your notes and PowerPoint. So and contribute, whatever you can remember from what we did last week. That will be very helpful. All right, Michael. Sorry, I didn't observe you raise your hand. Okay.
No,
Yeah.
that's okay. Just the uh, the occupational health and safety management system, and that
Mm-hmm.
we saw in chapter 10. It's an
Right.
integrated, proactive framework that brings together every business function, like purchasing, budgeting, performance reviews, etc., and then rather treating everything in the business and all the main production or business of the business, if I can say that,
Mm.
as rather than treating it as a standalone, it brings it together. And the model we learned was the Plan, Do, Check Act, which is CSA, I don't know,
Right.
Z 1014, and it's
Yeah.
the four parts. The planning is risk, legal, compliance, setting objectives. Doing part is training, implementing the safety measures. Three is checking, so audits, incident investigation, and four is acting, continuous improvements. So it's about due diligence and evidence
Right.
of continuous improvements, and then it creates a safety culture, and then there's implications, but I'll stop there for HR. So
Thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate your contribution. Let's put down your hand. Good. All right. So we also want to say something or contribute something. A lot of people don't want to talk today. I think we have about 13 students. Let me see. Let me see if I can call names now. Sandra? I don't I don't know whether you're available. Okay, what about Nora? Also not talking. Gagandip, can you hear me? All right, no problem. If you guys want to talk, that's okay. I'll just go straight to the topic of today. Today's topic, let me quickly share. So, so we're going to be looking at chapter 3 and chapter 12 today. But I'm going to be starting with chapter 3, then I'll move to chapter 13 from the textbook. Okay. So, chapter 3, which we omitted at the beginning because of chapter 12, because they go hand in glove or hand in hand. So, we're going to be looking at workers' compensation. And the outlines we're going to be looking at under learning objectives, we're going to be looking at some historical roots of workers' compensation, how it started, and when it came to Canada, the goals of workers' compensation board, the problem that is associated with compensation, psychological condition, and occupational illness. So, and also describe the assessment method in that workers' compensation board use. So, when we say workers' compensation, what does it mean? So basically, it's a form of insurance. It's an insurance policy. It's a no-fault insurance policy that is created by the Act of Parliament to protect workers from injuries. Okay, to also provide safety, all right, for injured workers, first aid treatment, benefits while when they are recuperating, all right, or when they are getting well, proper treatment for injuries, and also rehabilitation for injured workers so that they can return to their former jobs, or where they can't do their former job, it will also provide them a modified job. So let's have a little recap of where workers' compensation started. So historically, WC, workers' compensation started uh, ourselves back 1884 in Germany, and it never came to Canada not until in 1914 during the First World War. So Canada, alongside US, was studying how Germany was doing theirs. Then I think it was in 1908, America had the Employers Liability Act, which is a bit similar to workers' compensation. And in 1914, Canada officially had our first workers' compensation, which was later proliferated to different provinces and territories. So it gave time for Canada to study different workers' compensation laws around the world before they finally created theirs in 1914. And the idea behind workers' compensation. So, before now, I think I've told you some of the historical facts about how workers were treated in the olden days. Where they will have assumption of risk. Okay, no injury, no compensation for injury in those days. Now, with the advent of workers' compensation, there's compensation for injury sustained at work without any blame, all right, or without regardless of who's at fault. It also protects both parties from lawsuits, unwanted lawsuits. So employers are obliged to, pay into the compensation system in form of premium, and also is a form of safety net to protect our employers from unnecessary litigation for unfair labor practices. which can also drive them bankrupt. So this workers' compensation insurance is protecting workers from injuries. It's also protecting employers from losses that can drive them out of business. Um, so let's talk about the basic principles of workers' compensation. So one, in workers' compensation, the insurance covers all of these principles. One, collective liability of employers. So that what that means is that there are employers within the same industry who have the same type of risk and liability. So workers' compensation have the mechanism to put all of this put together, including their risk, their occupational illness and diseases, and be able to manage these categories of employers within the same portfolio. We also have compensation for workers despite the employer's financial condition. So, if there's any injured worker, workers' compensation provides um, compensation for workers who are, involved in any accident that's involves or that disallow them to make their income they should normally make in every day. Then compensation based on loss of earnings. I think I mentioned that just now. So if a worker is involved in accident or workplace injuries that will make them sit at home, go to hospital, that they were unable to gain their earnings that normally they're supposed to get. Workers' compensation will come in to compensate. And it's a no fault system, meaning that regardless of who's at fault, whether employer or employee, so far there's an accident or injury, they will come in. This act will be effective and take care of the victim of the accident. And one more principle is non-adversarial process with little or no recourse in the court. So it's a safety net for employer where employers are protected from being sued or being taken to court for unfair labor practices because they're already taking care of injuries. And on the other part, employees are also protected from workplace injuries and fatalities. So, workers' compensation in Canada. So, WSIB, the act, which is administered by the Workers' Compensation Board, all right, or WSIB, whose job or responsibilities and roles include one. So, the Workers' Compensation Board, has the responsibilities uh, which includes payments to injured workers while off work and all medical bills paid if injury happens at work and because of work. Pension will also be paid to workers if the injury becomes permanent, and benefits if injured workers cannot earn the same amount of money before the incident or accident, and also paying benefits to immediate family workers in case of death, or if the worker died in service, all right, or resulting in injury or illness that can cause death. The beneficiary takes uh, the compensation. Now, still on regulations and responsibilities of the Workers' Compensation Board, they also classify employers into different categories or constituencies according to their risk. They also determine whether a person is classified as a worker, a subcontractor, or as employer. Whether you're employer, employee, subcontractor. Then also system can also pay benefit if worker is affected by an industrial disease that has resulted in his patient. So we're going to be talking about industrial disease in later today. All right, now the major difference between industrial injuries and diseases. Um, so let's look at some of the legislative updates. So we have Workers' Compensation Act. for different provinces, and there are few changes that has happened over time. For instance, in Saskatchewan, they expanded the coverage, all right, to volunteers, volunteers in the firefighter, all right, and also in BC expanded the zone to cover wildlife firefighter against PTSD and other, fatalities. Nova Scotia, on the other hand, cover PTSD for emergency responders, okay, who are also like police, the emergency response team, the ambulance services, the firefighter. Alberta also amended its acts in 8 categories, including expanded psychological coverage, extended window of appeal, and so on and so forth. The Act in Manitoba also amended its own include presumptive provision for PTSD. In New Brunswick, also provided compensation for first responder that are suffering from PTSD. You can workers' compensation health and safety board also amended theirs to include cardiac arrest to heart disease on presumptive provision list. Okay, so the updates on workers' compensation, it's almost evolving every time, all right, across different provinces and territories. So let's talk about presumptive provisions. So under presumptive provision, we have a requirement whether the injury or illness is work related or not, required in special acknowledged or presumed circumstances. So most times, presumptive provision helps the health and safety officer to determine whether a disease that is showing or the symptoms of a disease a worker is showing is caused directly by the present work he's doing or from previous employer or work that the person has done in the past. So all of these can be used, to presume who holds the liability, whether it's the present employer or the past employer. So compensation rates and methods. So how do they calculate, compensation if it happens, whether there's accidents? There's a way of calculating, all right? So for instance, how does WCB, workers' compensation for determine how much to pay a worker who's injured or compensate a worker who's injured at work? So basically, there are two methods. Some provinces are using 90% of net earnings, and the other ones are using between 80 and 85. For instance, we have Nova Scotia that's been using both. Okay, so we need to find out. For example, in Ontario, we also use I think it's a five, yeah, 80, 85. Okay, so 85% of your net income. So you might want to ask, why not 100% compensation? So mainly to provide reasonable compensation without creating an incentive for individual to stay off work. So one, they don't want to give 100% because they don't want floodgate effect, and also um, the insurance will focus on reimbursing or providing income, sustainable income that the employee was earning before the accident happened to him or her. Okay, so basically that's one of the reasons why there's no 100% compensation, or they're not using 100% net income. Okay, so compensation rates and methods. So we have economic loss, different type of losses. So economic losses, kind of loss will, a victim of injury, accident is exposed to, where a worker can no longer earn the same amount of money they were earning before the accident happened. So, for instance, somebody who is working and earning $20 per hour, maybe at the end of the day, they are unable to earn, or they are just able to earn maybe $10 per day. So, the potential compensation will focus on the remaining part that we're unable to make um, if accident hasn't occurred to them. So in this case, we have $10, which is the difference between what they were making before and what they could make now. So we also have non-economic losses. For instance, we have uh, uh, somebody who was doing certain things or certain social activity before, but unable to do it as a result of the accident. Okay, so it's this compensation will pay for the permanent clinical impairments, which may also affect workers' life outside the work. Okay, so there's an example here: non-economic loss for somebody who worker unable that was playing golf before, but after the accident or incident, unable to play the golf. That is a non-economic loss. A benefit could be paid, in lump sum to compensate such such employees. So let's talk about medical aid and prevention. Employee who sustain a injury are compensated for lost. So loss of amount of money you were earning before the accident happens, and also for loss of functional capacity. So functional capacity are things that you were doing before. Maybe after the accident, you are unable to do it. For instance, you're driving before. After the accident, you couldn't drive again. So that is loss of functional capability that the workers' compensation will also pay for. So limited to ability or dexterity depending on seriousness of an injury. Workers are no longer able to perform some of the job duties, such as lifting, twisting, or bending, and are considered to have suffered loss of functional capability for which benefits are paid. So let's talk about social goals of workers' compensation. So apart from the economic goal, we also have, social goals. So what are the two main goals under this? We have they should be able to provide prevent injuries and reduce psychological impact of on the workers, right? And also provide or offer training and development to prepare and injured workers to return to work. So the focus should be to help people, excuse me, help people recuperate and return to work after they have been treated. So we also have grounded in the following standard provision: unlimited medical aids. Um, so compensation will also cover that. Medical aids, artificial prosthesis, funds to encourage reemployment, especially in the case of second injury or enhanced form, where employee who was injured initially as an accident victim can also, when exposed again, can also go through maybe another exposure that is called second injury. Liberal compensation, rehabilitation maintenance for those who are injured, all right, or those who sustain injuries during their work operations. Social goals and workers' compensation. Another part that workers' compensation uh, insurance covers is the social goals. All right. So Canada compensation system provide greater benefits than most of the other countries, including US. All right. So in contrast, many compensation programs in the US hinders rehabilitation either by cutting off compensation or only allowing it for a short period of time. So that's why even when you're comparing Canada and United States, in terms of benefits, Canada is still better and offers more life-saving benefits than the United States. So still on social goals for of workers' compensation. So provision for second injuries. I think I've mentioned a bit of second injury before. When the worker in, was involved, if you're involved in an accident before and it's not happening the second time. So this act facilitate that when you see somebody who was involved in an accident earlier, maybe some years back or some months back, and now again the same accident repeats itself. The employer has no power to discriminate against the person, and you cannot, say, hey, I fire you. You need to have, the person has the right to be, for second injury fund to workers' compensation will give money to such person, and the person will also be able to secure back, his or her employment to back to the normal work. So facilitate the employment of disabled workers, and also without a provision for multiple injuries, employer might be tempted to discriminate against workers with disability. So in this case, for second injury fund, apart from the fund, there's enactment of rights where employer are expected to hire or rehire workers who have been involved initially in an accident, regardless of the status. So social goals of workers' compensation, we have rehabilitation provision, which is three types. We have vocational rehabilitation, physical rehabilitation, and social rehabilitation. So physical rehabilitation talks about, no, sorry, vocational rehabilitation talks about focusing on returning back workers to work, to the place of employment, or maybe they can also find similar work or job they were doing before the accident happened. So physical rehabilitation is all about restoring physical condition of workers who are involved in accident. And the third part, which is social rehabilitation, uh, focus on focuses on psychological and practical services to help workers with severe disabilities cope with their daily life. So under provision of rehabilitation, we have vocational rehabilitation, physical rehabilitation, and social rehabilitation. Please, you can be noting all of this down. We don't know which one will come after your exam. Occupational diseases and workplace stress. Okay, so occupational diseases are not the same thing as occupational injuries. So diseases are diseases. Some of them are curable, some are not curable. So occupational diseases can include cancer, skin diseases, allergies, workplace reactions. So now the requirement to isolate the point at which disease was contacted as giving way to a recognition that the disease could be the result of exposure or injury over time. So in this case, we already identified uh, occupational diseases. So it is not just to identify those diseases; it requires containment. It requires health and safety initiatives like isolation, you know, which will not we might not directly impact diseases in employees. So we have latency, right? Some of you say latency, also it's latency period. So this is a period of exposure, where a victim is exposed to an organism, or um, a period of time between exposure to a cause and the development of such a disease. So sometimes the latency period can be immediate, it can also take time, especially some people might be working in an organization and because of their exposures to maybe fumes or certain chemicals, the disease might not come up immediately. It might take time, some it might take years for the symptoms to show. So between the exposure time and the time they are seeing the symptoms, it's called the latency period. So that's occupational disease, still on occupational diseases and workplace stress. So, three groups of stress-related disabilities. We have physical injuries, occupational diseases leading to mental disability. We also have mental stress that is leading to physical disability or trauma or traumatic occurrence or series of occurrences. And the third one is mental stress, which can also result into mental condition. So all of these can be stress related that is leading to occupational disease. So how do we assess these diseases under uh, maybe under WCB? So employers are grouped together according to their risk factor within the industry, and they are assessed based on their type of industries, their risk nature, their similarities in operations. So employers are divided into three categories. We have one, contribute to incident fund and benefit from collective liability. So workers' compensation board can make employers come together according to their collective risk factors and maintain a one bus where they will, or one pool where the any liability coming from workers accidents and incidents are thrown into that pool where they will take care of that through compensation and they will maintain the common pool pause. Then another type is individually liable for their own employees' incidents. Sometimes the small and medium businesses are also running this type of approach where everybody tends to cater for their liabilities, or if there's any accident, they take care of that individually. Then some at a certain low risk industry are also excluded by the board, from various acts according to the country. So we have some accident prone industries or jobs, and we have some works that are not highly accident prone. So those ones might be excluded, uh, from the pool, all right, from the collaborative insurance that WCB is arranging. Now, assessment, we have different ratios or rates according to years, how WSW workers' compensation are evaluated or assessed. So if you look at the chart here, we have provisional average assessment rates from 2015 to 2019. So we have different rates according to the so for every average $100 per payroll, you know, each of the years is carrying the calculation rates, the average assessment rate per year per uh, province. So maximum accessible insurance or insurable earnings. So based on what you have here, Newfoundland and Labrador, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Quebec, and so on and so forth. So we have the table here. So the table is showing maximum accessible insurable earnings for each of those provinces and territories, um, which are preliminary, value. you know. Anyways, you might not need all of that. Assessment, injury frequency rate, you need all this because you're going to use it for calculation. So injury frequency rate, it's a way of calculating how often does injury happen in the workplace. So injury frequency rate is used to benchmark and track safety performance of an organization. So WSIB or WCB also provide this information based on number of claims, to number of accidents, and all of that. So for calculating injury frequency, the formula is number of injuries divided by total hours worked times 200. That 200 is constant K. It's constant, all right? So in that calculation, it's constant. So for determining injury frequency, you have to look at this formula. Um, which is that's 100. It's like standard, it's unchanged. Calculating the severity. So this is frequency of injury frequency. That's the formula: number of injuries divided by total number of hours worked, or total hours worked times 100. For assessment, we have also accident severity. So accident frequency and accident severity. So for severity, it's almost the same formula. Number of days, lost time injuries divided by total hours work times 200,000. So like I told you, the 200,000 is constant. It's part of the formula. Uh, so there's a link, to the summary table comparing assessment and premium that each employers will pay on behalf of their workers. So you can check or click this link to watch more about the WSIB or workers WCB. Experience rating. Experience rating. So this one talks about individual or incident insurance premium rate pricing scheme. Before the insurance board can give you a pricing or premium, it takes into account different things, which includes clear cost experience of employer, what type of employer, what type of company, what kind of risk, how often do they, get involved in accidents, how health conscious, health and safety culture are they always reporting accidents or they are not reporting accidents, all of that. Will determine how much premium is going to the WCB is going to be charging, what are the efforts the employer is putting in place to always prevent accidents at all times. So we also have firm with lower than average incident cost per day per worker pay lower minimum than firms with above average incident cost total. Then we also have several employer will face lower workers' compensation cost, and also primary effect is financial incentive for relatively unsafe firms. Okay, just let me all of this part, part three is not as interesting as before. For It's not as interesting as the chapter 12 though. So reporting requirements. So every accident and incident, the employer has the responsibility to report to the Ministry of Labor, Workers' Compensation Board, and other authorities. So employer must report all workplace injuries within the time limit. I know in some provinces we have 24 hours, 5 minutes in no sorry, is it 5 days? 5 days in Nova Scotia. 5 days in Nova Scotia, 24 hours in Saskatchewan. So there are a number of days that that every employer Every employer must report accidents within a workplace. So employer reports collective information about the nature of employment of the worker who's involved in accidents, nature employee salaries in the hour of work, nature of incident or accidents, extent of the time lost in terms of lost time injuries, medical treatment that was involved. So all of these are going to be part of employer's report, especially when it's reporting to WSIB. There's a form called accident or incident reporting form. That's standard form that employers use to write the report. Now let's talk about non-compliance. Sometimes employers discourage the employees not to write, especially when we have incident. So another word for incident is near miss or close call. So when we have near miss, some employers don't, they try to bribe away or they just command that employees should not report. So non-compliance, when employer and employee fails to comply with the act or the provision of the Workers' Compensation Act, there is likely to be a penalty, all right, that will be applied to the defaulters. So the punishment can be up to $50,000. All right, could be up to $50,000 for not complying, not disrupting of investigate accident investigation, and not reporting accident or incident. All of these are part of non-compliance to the provision of the law. So we'll come to the first part of our topic today. Do you have any question? Any question before we move to um, chapter 12? Do we have any question? All right, I want to believe everybody is good and there's no question, right? Okay, so do we need a break? Do we need like 5 minutes break or I should just go ahead? Can you hear me? Okay, so thank you very much for confirming that. I will just share the second part, which is chapter 12. Chapter 12. Okay, so I just want to take like 2 minutes break to get some water. I am in the office right now, but I need to get some water so I drink myself. It's like so just give me like 1 or 2 minutes to get water from the fountain. I'll be back shortly. Okay, I'm back. Incident investigation. This is an interesting topic that everybody's gonna like. So here we're gonna be looking at steps of investigating accident and incident in the workplace, and how do we gather information from human situation, environmental factors that are contributing to incidents. We're going to be also looking at the legal requirements of incident investigation results and concept of walkthrough survey, conducting interviews concerning incident and reenactment or reenactment. So, what is reenactment? We're going to talk about that. Complete types of incident and injury reports. So let's talk about incident investigation. Why incident investigation? Why do we need, you know, to investigate incident in a workplace? So in incident investigation, it's very important to recognize, the component of hazard. So it's the component is called RACE, hazard recognition, analysis, control, and evaluation program. So it's part of health and safety program. And why do we need to investigate incidents? It helps us determine the direct and indirect cause of accidents. What are those things that are contributing factors to the cause of an incident? Prevent similar incidents from happening, create a permanent record and repository of how the company treats its accident and health and safety procedures, determine the cost of loss, especially, yeah, and promote safety awareness amongst employees. So we have critical factors in the investigating process. So the some of the things that influence investigation include timing, the time that the accident happened, or time affects several types of information. Two, the severity, which measures what are the consequences and how high or low, or how severe, how deep is the severity of consequences of an incident, and what are the legal requirements. Okay, legal requirements that surrounding the incidents in terms of injuries, lost time, injury ratios. Do we have the necessary coverage uh, from WCB, Workers' Compensation Board? You know, so all of these are legal requirements we're going to be looking at. Okay, according to what the law states. So let's talk about collecting information when there's an incident. How do we collect information? What type of information are we collecting? We have human factors, environmental factors, and situational factors. So let's start with human factors. So if there's accident or incident, what do you need to do? Or what are the human factors you need to collect? So you need to ask yourself these questions. What was the worker doing at the time of the incident? Was the work being performed according to procedure? Was there any supervisor present? What was the employment status of the worker? How much experience did the employee have? What was the posture or location of the employee? Did some unsafe acts contribute to the events? So these are questions related to humans that are germane and very crucial for anybody who is investigating an accident or incident to consider during investigation. So let's talk about situation now. So question to ask on that situation, was the machine operating in a satisfactory manner? Have we, uh, serviced the machine? Is it working properly? What tool, machine, or equipment or object are involved in the incident? Was the operator wearing the PPE, okay, the personal protective equipment as at the time of the accident or not? Okay. Then for environment questions like, you want to look at some of the environmental factors. Maybe they can be contributing to, they are, might have contributed to the incident or accident, sorry. Um, Lighting, noise, ventilations, all of these are part of what we look at. So, for instance, setting sun may blind delivery truck driver. So, do you have a shade, a dark shade, all right, or sunglasses, or the flap, the sun blocker, to help drivers, drive well without, you know, lights distracting the driving. All right. Machine noise may also, machine noise may mask approaching vehicle as well. So in terms of noise pollution, how are we maintaining that? Equipment vibration may dislodge another tool. All of these are environmental factors that we can check around, when we are investigating. Where did it happen? Is it well lit? Was there any ventilation in the factory? Is there any wiring on the floor or wet floor? All of those things are environmental factors that can contribute to accident. No, now who is qualified to investigate accident? So we have the supervisor, we have technical advisor and specialists, we have safety and health officers, um, who can also do that. We have the joint health and safety committee or health and safety representatives. We also have safety teams. All of these can investigate. Even inspectors from the Ministry of Labor can also investigate accidents and incidents in the workplace. Now, what are the methods of investigating accidents? Also, investigative method one, observation or walkthrough. So just like the name implies, you walk through, you observe whatever you observe within the scenario or the scene, and you can take pictures of the environment. And these are basic interviews rules you must also observe as an investigator. So you must look for eyewitnesses, on the spot as soon as possible after the event. So why do we need eyewitnesses who were there when the incident happened? So interview these witnesses in separate places that is neutral. Don't put them or don't take them to your personal office. You can take them to cafeteria. You can take them to where they're going to be comfortable, okay, to speak up. Put the witness at ease. Let them calm down. Don't sound harsh with them. Tell them the purpose of the investigation is to know the cause and nothing else. It's not going to cause them trouble or police issue so that they can give you the right report. So put them at ease and also let the individual recall the event in his own way, in his own words, what happened, using his or her own expression. Ask necessary questions at appropriate time without interrupting the speaker. You know, uh, let them explain everything from A to Z. You can also record them. All right, audio, video record. Give the witness feedback. To reconfirm. You mean this. You said this. So get the confirmation from the witness. Make sure that critical information is recorded in a timely fashion. So you can record the videos, you can record the audios, you can record, both video and audio. Uh, end the interview with a positive note. You must thank them for giving you valuable, time and information that you need, for your investigation. There's also what we call reenactment. So we use reenactment in investigation to act, okay, to act the accident scene. How did it happen? So, but one thing about reenactment is that it's very important to always put up the safety precautions, together before you act, so that you don't come and repeat what happened again. All right. So you don't want any double tragedy. So it's just like a simulation designed to recreate circumstances leading to the incident or accident. So before you can reenact, you have to, get qualified observers, who were there. They will be able to narrate it. Do not show. Tell them. Let them tell you. Do not show them what you're trying to do. Let them tell you, what happened when they were there. How did the scenario goes? How did it go? Then shut down every energy source and log them out. You can have a caution tape around where the whole accident happened and carefully act in the event. You can also get professionals who are safety professionals to act the scenario. All right. While you're doing that, you're recording so that you can like give a pictorial or a video replay of how that incident happened. So some of you have watched video of this different fire. The remember the video of the Quebec fire that we watched in the beginning. So it wasn't the main. So that was a reenactment. So some people react. They use different digital tools to reenact it. All right. Plus some of the videos that were recorded during the incident. All of this were meshed together, and there was a narrator behind this, telling us what happened at this point, what happened at this stage. And when the person was talking, the narrator was talking, you could see the train move. There was, different scenes that were showing different trains that was moving. So you can also reenact, an accident to have a pictorial or video review of how the whole, incident happened. Now, let's talk about tools that we use in investigating. We can use photographs, drawings. So we have AutoCAD. We also have identities, especially from the police people who can actually draw, especially if you're in a crime scenario and they couldn't, maybe the person is not is on the run. Eyewitnesses can describe, and the way you've described, they can draw. There are specialists who are very good at, drawing people. They can actually draw out and sketch out the face of based on the person, how the eyewitnesses, describe the person. We have computers, with AutoCAD, tape measures or measuring tapes, clipboards, water resistant pen, flashlights, all of this including record checks, um, investigative tools that health and safety investigation must have at all time. Now let's talk about incident report. Please pay attention to this part. Incident report is also very critical. So once, as a specialist, once you've gathered your your evidences, your data from eyewitnesses, so the next thing is to have your reports. So incident report or accident report must be completed, and sometimes it's completed by a health and safety officer, HR person, safety, person in charge of safety, within the organization. So factors that things that must be included in the report, what type of accident, is there an accident or incident, which attempt to categorize into different maybe categories, personal factors, the person who is taking it must have, must be knowledgeable. What caused the accident? Is it fatigue? Is it as a result of restricted vision? All of this could be included in the investigation form. So incident type, And so, who was involved, when, time, location, uh, was there a supervisor in charge? Was there any fatality? Was there any death? You know, all of the vital things that must be included. So once you have collected all of this data, you must be able to analyze the information with care, identify the cause of the accident. You know, where is the root cause? The purpose is to identify. So we also have analytic model and techniques that are also available today used with the use of technology in assessing the accident. So the purpose of for taking all of this and writing a report is to identify the cause, the root cause of the accident, and why did it happen. These are very very vital questions that must be asked by an investigator at all times. So couple of theories that were also included in the textbook to explain why accident happens. So accident doesn't cannot just happen like that. So the first theory we're going to be looking at is the domino theory. Okay, or we can also look at online. You can look at it online on YouTube. The domino effect. So it's about placing different dominoes. Once you push the one slab, the first slab, don't step on the second, slab, and of the second slab will also fall down, affecting the third, the fourth, the fifth. So what that means is that accidents doesn't just happen; it happens as a ripple effect of many events that fall over one another or each other till they get to fatality. So this theory was written by a man called H.W. Henrich. So one, the background talks about the lack of control by the management function, um, planning, organizing, controlling, and leading and controlling. We have personal defects, all right, such as physical and mental problems and job factors, such as normal wear and tear of equipment, can also cause accidents. Unsafe acts and unsafe conditions are also major contributors to accident, and a series of undesired events, which is incidents, which release energies that can cause harm, and definition of injury is most undesired results. So under domino theory, we have the domino here. All right, all the if you look at the dominoes are here. We have background. Let me enlarge it. We have personal defects, unsafe act and condition, accidents, and leading to injury. So the fall of one will affect the other, will affect the other until we have the final accident. So accident cannot just happen; it happens as a result of series of events that fall on each other, and if it's not controlled, it can lead to accident. So the best way to control domino effect is when you see that the first one has fallen, just try to remove the other ones to prevent accidents. So instead of the first one fell on the second, second and third, fourth, and you can remove the third. So while the first and second is falling, if you remove this third, it will only affect first and second. And because you have created a gap, it will not affect the fourth and fifth domino blocks. So what this theory is talking about is if you discover there is event or maybe unsafe condition or unsafe act that can cause accident, try to control it. Try to see how you can, whether through policies, through trainings, through PPE, through safety acts, to control the effects so that it doesn't lead to injury or accident at the end of the day. So that is the purpose of learning this theory, domino theory. All right. We also have the second one called the Swiss cheese model, written by J. Reason. J. Reason is almost similar to the domino effect, but in this case, it's talking about cheese, series of cheese and with holes. So if there's a loophole in an organization, the loophole will give into another loophole will give into another loophole until it gets to the last loophole that will cause injury or loss or accident. So what Swiss cheese model is talking about is that once you see a loophole, um, don't let it lead to another loophole. Try to block the loophole so that it doesn't lead to fatality at the end of the day. So a combination of loopholes, together, if they are not controlled, will lead to fatality. So that is the summary of Swiss cheese model. Then Swiss cheese model talks about safe acts, which are products of organization culture, where they have the lax safety culture, climate, level of supervision, when there are no trained supervisors to check whether workers are following safety precautions and safety act, varieties of other contextual factors. So specifies this theory talks about four levels of defense. So for you to provide or protect an organization, there must be organizational influence through policies, procedures, leadership commitment from top to bottom. Locals, working condition has to be safe at all times. Everybody within the organization, from workers to supervisors, must adopt unsafe acts. They must not adopt unsafe acts. Rather, sorry, they must run away from unsafe acts. So they must only do act that is safe. So we've done unsafe act and unsafe condition before. So things that people do that are unsafe act, for instance, um, throwing caution into the air. Sometimes some of us even do unsafe acts at home while we're driving without seat belts, or distractions. You're driving or you're walking. You are also, trying to press your phone at the same time. So these are examples of unsafe acts. So defenses, barriers, and safeguards. So the third theory we have is bow tie analysis. So the bow tie analysis talks about is a combination of fault three. We've done fault three here before, so it's a combination of fault tree diagram um, on the left part, which is listing the potential hazards and how those hazards can be controlled, and on the right side, we have the consequences if not controlled. What are the consequences and events that can happen? So in the middle, we now have the incident or event, you know, that we're talking about. And this is how a bow tie analysis looks like. So from this side, we have hazard one, two, three. And how can we control this hazard? Okay, control one, two, three. So if you fail to control this hazard, it can lead to this incident or accident. If this accident happens, okay, so you can have the on the other side here, okay, we have how we can also measure it, okay, mitigation one, two, three, and this are the results. Results one, two, three. So it's all about pointing to the accident, hazards, and control of hazard, whether you want to use engineering control, you want to use substitution, you want to use administrative control and all of that. Then we have how do we mitigate it? Do we accept the risk? Do we transfer it to insurance? All right. Do we run away from the risk? And the results are these one, two, three. So You can use bow tie analysis to represent, you know, the, how we control and how we mitigate the hazards. The So let's talk about normal incidents. So normal incidents are expected outcome of interactive complexity. Basically, there are some organizations that are high, they have deal with high risk or high hazards, like people who are working with different hazardous chemicals and materials. So high reliability organization, who are these are organizations in hazardous industries that maintain a high safety records over time. So for instance, organizations like the gas company, oil and gas company, right, where they sell propane, different gas that we buy. So that industry is very, very, they have high risk. Okay, the chemicals they're dealing with is hazardous. Some of these chemicals are petrochemicals that is not good to breathe, to inhale. So they have high safety records over time, training, all of this. So we categorize those industries as high reliability organization under occupational health and safety. So we also have the psychology of incidents. So the psychology of incidents is um, the cognitive failure of humans. Okay, either caused by forgetfulness or human error caused by mistake. All right, or sometimes it's caused by distraction or stress, and all of these things are factors that can lead to accident. So mistake or failure, in the performance of an action can lead to lead to accidents. So I know everybody is not above, nobody's above mistake, but we should try as much as possible to avoid costly mistakes that can lead to fatal accident. So sometimes stress, people who are under stress might not pay attention, might be too tired, or might be emotionally imbalanced to to observe certain safety acts, which can lead to accident. Then also related to occurrence of both motor vehicle and work-related incidents. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of today's topic. Um, any question for me? Any question? Do you have any questions so far on this chapter 12 and chapter 3 and 12 that we've done today? All right, no question. So this week we have our group, the group project or group assignment is released now. So if you look at, hold on a sec. Okay, so if you look at here where I'm touching right now, so that is the group assignment is in a document. So each group are supposed to just download this. The instructions uh, about the assignment is there and it's closing in 2 weeks. Please pay attention to the due dates. April the 7th is the final, the due date. So, and when you're doing this, please pay attention. You're supposed to do your research and put your research in a PowerPoint presentation. So after 2 weeks, we're going to have each group present you know, their research about it's a case study. So your research on the case study, what did you find, and each of those groups will have to present it. What are your findings and all of that. And when you're presenting, please ensure your group members are present. So there's one part that talks about research grading, and the other part which talks about presentation grading. So 50% goes to research, 50% goes to presentation. So if you come, just upload your research papers or PowerPoint, and you don't come for presentation, so you'll be graded only with just 50%. So please ensure you tell others. Uh, it's important to work with your group and also come online with your group for your presentation. It's very important. I would like to see everybody work together. All hands must be on deck. Please, there's no freeloaders, no social loafer. Everybody must contribute, to the success of the team, of the group. So I don't want to hear some people are the one working and the other people are forming busy. They sometimes people will just say, "Hey, I'm busy." Everybody's busy. So if you're giving a group assignment, please ensure you all come together in your group to do, your part. And maybe practice or meet ahead for your presentation because I will be looking at your teamwork, your cohesion, collaboration, your consistency in your slide, and also communication skills. All right, how you transition from one presenter to another. If you're going to be having multiple presenters, present the project. So all of these are things that I'm going to be checking to grade you. All right, and please pay attention to your due dates. So a lot of students have been coming or texting or sending messages to me that, hey, I missed my due date, I missed my visa. So, like I do say, please, you are the owner of your own learning journey. So, you need to take the full responsibility of tracking your academic progress. The way I'm doing my job, you also need to do your job. So, please ensure that you don't miss your due dates. Okay, if you don't have accommodation or you don't have medical conditions and all of that, I might not be taking you seriously if you send those notes to me. So, and for your individual assignments, I've graded that, and a lot of you did excellently well. I'm proud of you, but honestly, I'm disappointed in some of you, not all, few of you that were totally over reliant on AI. I read and I checked, your assignments. So people are so lazy that they just copy and pasted ChatGPT 100%. It's not really good enough. Students are supposed to do a little bit of research and engage in critical thinking and problem solving skills. That is why we're here. When you rely 100% on AI to do everything for you. So, what is the essence of coming to school? So, you're supposed to be able to do your own research. Go online, health and safety news recently, within 6 months, read the news, summarize it, and give your own, if you're the one, what will you do? Use your knowledge, of what you're getting in the class. Even if AI is giving you, it should give you like a structure of what you should write, but you shouldn't depend 100% on it. So for those of you that copy and pasted, I'm highly disappointed, and that shouldn't be. And I also see that some of you, this is a graduate school, you're still suffering with APA citations, which I said earlier. Now go and watch YouTube. Watch YouTube. We also have writing. Amber has a video, for I think a workshop, online workshop for APA citation. These are things that you should know by now. So please, I feel so sad. I feel so sad because I actually graded those people who rely on AI zero. So, but I don't know. I'm a very kind person. I will still regret them now, but maybe I'll be giving you just 50%. So please, next time, especially for your group assignment, please ensure you work together and ensure you check for plagiarism, check for AI content before submitting. You want to ensure your originality is on top gear. You want to ensure that you have scholastic writing because this is an academic writing is different from when you're writing blogs. So these are, germane or fundamental things you should always put, into consideration when you're writing. I don't know of other professors, but I'm telling you, and this is the standard. Maybe because I have exposures in America and, top schools in Canada. If you go meet students from University of Toronto, for instance, you might not be able to withstand them because, maybe you are meeting professors that are pampering you. They don't want you to know the real standard. But that is the truth. I will never tell you lie. I will tell you straight up. That is the truth. I teach in another couple of university. As I'm talking to you right now, I'm seated in my office in the university. I don't want to mention. But if you Google my name, you'll see some, this university that I teach. So I know it's a college, but of course we need to really, it doesn't matter. So you need to really improve on that. So if you have any comments, please let me know. I know some of you are sad. Some of you are angry with me right now because I graded you badly. But the truth is, I'm only creating standard. And that is true. I want you to do better. I have no reason to fail my course. So, Michael, you have your hands up.
Yes, I just wanted to clarify to make sure I understand. I know you've got on the blackboard that this group project we're going to work on it's due. We have to submit it April the 7th, and then we're going to present
Yeah,
later. But I just
yeah.
want to make sure. So you want and I understand the research and the presentation being two separate parts. But on April the 7th, you want us to submit the research and the
That is the
power.
due date. That is the due date for submission. So
Yes,
if you check your, do you have your critical path with you?
I
Do you want to
I do.
download your critical path? Open it now.
So no, and that's why I'm just double checking. On the blackboard, you've got April the 7th. So both of them are for that date. I just wanted to be clear based on what you said earlier. I wasn't sure if I was hearing you correctly. That's all.
Okay, so April the 7th is the last day of submission. All right.
Okay.
And April the 7th is the the day we're going to be presenting. We're going to start our presentation that day.
Okay.
So
Will we know who's
everybody
starting?
before or after that day, you are not expected to submit. Even if you have not submitted before presentation, before 11:59 on that Monday, you're supposed to submit all your documents for grading.
Okay. I just wanted to double check. That's all.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
okay, that's fine. If that's what's
yeah.
expected, everybody to submit the same time, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Yeah, you can submit before. You can submit before the due date, but ensure whatever you're
Sure.
submitting is what everybody has agreed in a group, and you can come up with your document on that day, present your PowerPoint, review, check again, final check, then submit before 11:59. Everyone will be presenting on 7th. It's up to up to your group. If you want to have a solo or single presenter, fine. If you want to have multiple presenters, also good. But once you finish presenting, I'll be anybody can ask questions, in the class, and they're going to be throwing questions, not just to the presenter. The question can go to anybody within the group, so that's why you need to know your slide. Secondly, excuse me, I'll be asking what did you contribute to the what part everybody contributed. So it's not going to be like, hey, somebody presented for us and hey, hooray, we're in group 1 or group 2. What did you contribute? What was your part? So, and I can also ask from your part. Sorry, I meant all 8 groups will be presenting on. Yes, of course, because we are already going to be finishing all our lectures next week. Um, Most likely, let me double check again. I don't want to. Yes, 13, which is the last chapter, is going to come next week. Then after that, we're going to have group presentation, and I'm also going to be giving you a heads up on your exam. So that is it. So the final lecture, chapter 13, is coming up next week. So a week after is going to be our presentation, and after presentation, we'll prepare for our exam.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So for any Muslim here, any Muslim person here, so I know next week Monday is going to be the Ramadan end of fasting. So if you're a Muslim here, you might want to take a break. So if you're not around next week, that's fine. I will understand that. So whether you're going to be presenting or not, that's going to be a discussion within your group. So please, I encourage everybody to go back to their groups and talk, work, and prepare whatever the case study is all about. So please try as much as possible to be original and don't share your work. Group work with another group. I'm also going to be cross-checking. So, and whatever points you're coming up with, so please also research online and come up with facts to support your points. All right. I know it's good to talk from experience to tell while you're sharing your experiences, you also have to come online with documents, proofs, books, case law and all of that to support your points. So I want to see creativity. I want to see teamwork. I want to see, new perspective to what I know or that I've seen before. So sometimes you might also need to think outside the box. These are things that can give you great marks. Creativity, innovation, things that that will bring new learnings from things that we all know before. So that's it. So for those of you that fall into the category that I mentioned, I have a little good news for you, which I mentioned earlier. So you're gonna move from zero to something a bit nice, but you can do better next time. All right. So thank you for coming. Do you have any contribution questions or anything again before we go? I know now everybody should be smiling. Some of you are still not happy with me. Yeah, I know you might not be happy with me, but I'm trying to make you better, and there are still a lot of chances, to get good marks. You still have a good group assignment. You have your exam, which you're going to be doing online from home. So please don't get angry, don't get mad. All right, it's just an opportunity for everyone to learn. Okay. So thank you very much for listening and coming. I hope to see you next week again. And that is the end of today's class. So the class is dismissed. Thank you, and have a great one. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.